Today on Newsbeast, the latest on the News Corp hacking scandals and the conversations occurring in Parliament today. Zachary, Louise, give us the latest.
Well, James was up today, James Murdoch, and that was really interesting because he kept denying, and that's really what he's been doing all along, saying, you know, I had no knowledge that this was going on. And there's an incriminating email from 2008 that actually has on an email chain where this is being discussed, but he's denying. The big fireworks, though, I think is going to be tomorrow when Rupert takes a stand, and I think that's going to be really, he's going to be really fighting hard as he has been doing throughout.
Zachary, one of the questions I've got is, you have a fascinating situation that occurs every couple of decades where new technologies outpace old laws. And there are distinctions between what's legal, perhaps, and what's ethical. But how does this dovetail with those considerations and perhaps the overall culture of Fleet Street?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, James Murdoch's denials of being aware of the nitty-gritty of these things because he got an email in 2008, you actually can make a pretty credible case for it, because if you've got 800 emails in your inbox, you may not pay adequate attention to every single one of them, and indeed, you know, may not have wanted to. I think obviously what's going on here is both the technology part of it, which is, you know, obviously it's easier to intercept communications passively than it ever was, and whether that's true of governments or media organizations, it pertains to both. You know, combined with the fact that, as we've all talked about a lot, this is the proverbial knives have been out for the News Corp in Britain for a long time. And, you know, oh, how the mighty have fallen. You know, this is, Rupert gets to play his King Croesus moment.
Despite their closeness to governments on both sides of the aisle, certainly the Blair government, which we know more and more about, and the Cameron government.
Well, but again, here, too, it's not clear that it was closeness or the kind of closeness that JAG or Hoover had with various administrations. It was closeness solidified and bound together by high levels of fear and the constant threat of embarrassing, incriminating details being exposed. So I think this is not these were not relationships of mutual respect. These were relationships of sort of parasitic / symbiotic.
One of the things that came out today was these back-channel relationships to the government, which you had joked is what we used to call leaks. What is the distinction there?
But really what's being hinted at today in today's hearing is that there's a cache of emails that just suggest that the Murdoch News Corp had a back channel to the Cameron government when they were bidding for the B-Sky B franchise. So that's sort of the business story, but it could be incredibly damning. And I think, again, looking forward, next week we're going to have a lot of politicians on the stand. We're going to get Blair, Cameron, Brown. It's going to be very interesting to see how that whole, how they will respond to all these allegations.
Yeah, although I think it is unlikely that you're going to find that kind of smoking gun where someone handed, you know, the vice minister of X, Y, and Z 10,000 quid in an envelope in a dark alley. It's much more. These are realities of interest and elites, whether it's K Street in Washington, whether it's Fleet Street and its, you know, interaction with government in Britain, that when things are okay, people don't really pay attention to it. I mean, it's always unpleasant or unwelcome for a lot of people because it suggests that there are elites colluding, and in fact there are elites colluding.
Well, it's the reality of relationships. Right. Decisions at the end of the day are made in people in a room, and we can, you know, sometimes those people aren't all neatly in government and or media and or business.
But it's proximity, and it's a culture that we're seeing unfolding, and I completely agree. We don't, I mean, this is what we live every day, and we all know that it's sort of going on in Washington as well. But it's sort of, now the curtain has been raised on it, and I think ordinary people are watching these hearings because suddenly you can hear about the Chipping Norton said and how James hung out with, you know, the Murdochs and how the Murdochs hung out with the Camerons and et cetera, et cetera.
And certainly I think whenever you have former heads of state taking the stand, as it were, or testifying, there's no way that doesn't elevate the inquiry and the interest to a whole nother level.
Yeah, but one other thing on this, I mean, it's a classic hoist with your own petard, right? In that the media can make, you know, we can make anything look either elevated and fine or really dark and kind of sordid. And I mean, just think about a TV spot about what's going on now. All you need is some like dark music, some fuzzy, grainy camera shots, a dark voice suggesting, you know, collusion, and what might be a benign interaction suddenly becomes a pernicious interaction. And I think there's a huge amount of corruption, obviously, in News Corp, as all of what's gone on the past year has revealed. But there's also a level in which this is a company that enjoyed privilege of place and privilege of access in a way that a lot of people found distasteful, unfair, and potentially illegal and immoral. And they are going to be raked over the coals.
Well, it'll be interesting. I remember the last time there was a hearing, there was an interesting moment, too, where a classic overreach moment, where that individual tried to do some street theater, throw a pie in Rupert Murdoch's face, and ended up not only looking bad, but making Wendy and Rupert look sympathetic. Final thoughts?
Fireworks.
I can't do better than fireworks. Pie in the face. I was thinking someone should do a pie in the face for Newsbeat. We should see how that plays.
We're working on that. Well, it's certainly going to be a fascinating couple of days. We'll be covering it here at Newsbeat, talking about the fallout, how it might reach across the pond, and tomorrow talking to the legendary editor Harry Evans, who's done battle with Murdoch in the past, and his predictions for the future. That's all for us at Newsbeat today. We'll see you tomorrow.